If I had to start all over buying again in Washington, D.C. today, I wouldn't start by looking at the most popular neighborhoods. I'd target growing neighborhoods. And in this video, I'm going to show you where buyers are still finding affordability in D.C. I'm going to show you the numbers you actually need to know and the neighborhoods smart buyers are quietly targeting right now. Because here's the truth most people don't realize. Businesses don't create strong neighborhoods. They follow them. Most buyers start by looking for the restaurants, the coffee shops, the grocery stores, and even the nightlife. And if those things aren't already there, they assume the neighborhood isn't worth buying in. But that's backwards. Communities grow first. Household income increases, home ownership rises, property values start moving, and then the restaurants, gyms, and retail shops show up. If you only buy where the coffee shops already are, you're usually buying after the opportunity has gone. Right now, a lot of people are asking the same question. Can I even afford to live in DC anymore? Because if you're looking at places like Logan, Dupont Circle, Capitol Hill row houses, or luxury buildings in Navy Yard, entry prices often start around $650K or higher. So people assume the entire city is out of reach. But DC is a lot bigger than a handful of neighborhoods. And opportunity rarely starts where prices are already the highest. Let's talk about what buyers actually look like in this market. A single professional in DC earning around $75 to $85K a year takes home roughly $4,500 a month after taxes. Using the typical guidelines of about 30% toward housing, that's roughly $1,300 to $1,400 per month. Buying in prime DC with that budget is going to be tough, but it's not impossible if you're strategic. Now look at double income households with no kids, a DINK household. Two professionals earning about $85K each equals roughly $170K in household income. After taxes, that's roughly $9,000 to $10,000 per month in take-home pay. That supports a housing payment around $2,700 to $3,000 per month, which translates roughly in the mid-400s to low 500s, depending on rates and down payment. So people are still buying. They're just not always buying where Instagram tells them to. Quick question for you. When you think about buying in DC, what's the biggest obstacle right now? Is it price, interest rates, or just figuring out where to look? Drop it in the comments. I'm curious what people are running into. Now, here's where things get interesting. There are still several neighborhoods in DC where buyers are finding real opportunity. And a couple of them might surprise you. Let's start with Congress Heights. Condos can still fall roughly in the $250 to $350K range, and townhomes sometimes under $500K. There's major redevelopment happening around St. Elizabeth's, and metro access is already there. This is the kind of neighborhood where economic power starts growing and businesses follow. Next is Deanwood. Deanwood is one of the last neighborhoods in DC where detached houses can still appear under $500K. It's quiet and residential, but it's not trendy yet. But neighborhoods like this often change slowly and then suddenly. Then there's Bellevue. Bellevue sits in southwest DC, just south of Joint Base and Anacostia. What makes this neighborhood interesting is the housing stock. You can still find detached single-family homes, which is getting harder and harder to find anywhere in DC at approachable prices. Many homes fall roughly in the $450K to $600K range, depending on upstakes. For buyers who want space, a yard, and a DC address, this area is starting to attract attention. Another area buyers are exploring is Fort Dupont and Fort Davis. These neighborhoods offer tree-lined streets, more space, and a quieter residential feel while still being inside the city. Buyers looking for affordability and room to grow are increasingly paying attention to this area. If you're wondering what neighborhoods make sense for you, your income, your commute, and your lifestyle, just reach out. We can actually run the numbers together. Income, debt, savings, what you can realistically afford today. A lot of buyers rule themselves out too early, and sometimes the gap between I can't buy and I can buy is smaller than people think. Sometimes the opportunity is just outside the city. You may have heard the phrase, drive until you qualify. People don't love that phrase, but sometimes it means driving 10 or 15 minutes and not an hour. Places like Hyattsville offer metro access, a growing business district, and homes often in the $350 to $500K range. Areas like District Heights and Suitland still have condos under 250K and townhomes in the 300. They may not be flashy, but home ownership is about leverage, not flash. Here's the part many buyers struggle with. Your first home usually isn't your dream home. It's your entry point. 5 years later, you trade up. 10 years later, you're glad you started when you did. The biggest mistake buyers make is waiting until a neighborhood already looks perfect. By then, the prices have already moved. Growth neighborhoods are different. You're buying before everything arrives, before the restaurants, before the retail, before the headlines. That's where long-term opportunity tends to live. If you're trying to figure out whether buying in DC or just outside of DC is realistic for you, reach out. We can look at what you can afford today, which neighborhoods are growing, what happens if you buy now versus waiting. There's no pressure, just clear numbers and a strategy. Because if I had to start all over again buying in Washington, D.C. right now, I wouldn't chase the finished neighborhoods. I'd go where the growth is starting. That's usually where opportunity lives. I'm Troy Patterson with the Spera Group, and now you know.